what I learned is successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people are not. So I'm successful because I'm willing to do what you ain't willing to do. I'm willing to get up early. I'm willing to stay late. I'm willing to do that over and over again. And when I don't feel like doing it, I get up and I do it again. And that's the difference between me and you. I'm gonna keep going when I don't feel like going. You wanna go as long as it's comfortable and convenient. But then you wonder why you ain't got what I got. You ain't going where I'm going.
Welcome to Closing the Gap Podcast, The Truth About Wealth. I'm your host, Mr. Eddie Richardson, here with our host and the owner of Hamilton Wealth Advisors, Mr. Wilbert Hamilton. How you doing today, good sir?
Hey, I'm always blessed and highly favored, sir.
Hey, man, I always love to hear that. And we want to let you know that you're tuned in to another righteous and holy episode today. And we're going to entitle this show, Tuning Out the Hype. Tuning Out the Hype. There's a lot of noise, a lot of hype about faith situations, a lot of hype about financial situations, and we don't want you to get caught up in the hype, because oftentimes the hype can lead you and hinder you in your progress. You've been working on some plans yourself, and then now you hear the latest thing is happening, going on, and then you want to turn away from your plan and start chasing after what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is saying needs to be done. Well, we want you to be able to tune those things out so that you can stick to doing what you need to do. And today, we're going to give you some tidbits of information that we believe, well, and not just believe will, but we know that will help the people to stay focused and stay aligned with their plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's one of those things where, we understand that, excitement is contagious. And I always refer back to, people's decision making. And one of the things I learned about people is that individually people make smarter decisions. When you put people collectively in a group, they tend to make, decisions that are not necessarily in line with how they would operate individually. It's thing that, we know as peer pressure, and usually, when I can look at, young men, for example, and, used to be a young man myself, and being, competitive and energetic and, going to school. And if I ever got in trouble, it was usually because I was around a group of young men and there was some conversations going on and there was some peer pressure involved and there was some talk involved, and there was, he tougher than you, or you tougher than him, or, let's see who tougher. Let's wrestle, let's fight, let's do this, let's do that. And individually, if someone would ask me, does it make sense to get in a wrestling match or fight at school? I said, of course not. It's not what you're supposed to do. But collectively, when the peer pressure get to flowing and you're around your peers and, you want to show that you're tough, and you want to show that I ain't the one to be messed with. I'm not the one to be played with. And you're trying to, make your name, so to speak, as a young man. You tend to make decisions that are not always in your best interest. Well, it's very similar to that as adults. It's just obviously a different, area of life that we're making these decisions in a lot of times. We see it a lot of times now, in the financial world, because, there'll be a new IPO, so to speak. And everybody's chasing. Oh man, should I buy this company? Should I buy this company? The IPO is coming out. Man, I think I should get it. They say it's gonna go through the roof. Well, now you're making decisions on what you should do off of hype and excitement. But not at one point in time have you sat down to see, does this align with my plan? Do I have a plan? We recently had SpaceX IPO, and and people are clamoring for it, and I'm not gonna say what has happened to it since it's actually IPO, but let's just say that when I tell people, like, the best time to buy is when nobody's talking to about it, because the price is usually lower then. Because we have to understand, this is all about supply and demand. Once that goes to market, it's all about the public sentiment at that particular point. And if more people want it, that means the demand is high. That means the price is going up. That means if the supply is high and it's not in demand, that means the price is going lower. So, sometimes when, I tell people from a financial standpoint, by the time you hear about it, it's usually too late. The money's already been made. So just be patient. Allow it to somewhat self-correct.
Yeah.
Allow it to, just kind of regulate itself and come back to earth, so to speak. This situation, almost theoretically, not realistically come back to earth, but we want that to happen, and then, see if it aligns with your financial objectives and if you should include it in your portfolio. So, as I always tell people, there's nothing wrong with participating in certain opportunities, but knowing how much you should participate with is really the question, but you have to have a plan of action in place to know how much of your money is what we call play money. So my dad lives by a rule of, if I don't lose it, I ain't got to worry about how to try to get it back. And I understand that. And most people do align with that. I said, but, also with great risk comes great reward.
Yeah.
So you need a healthy balance.
Yeah.
You need to have some optimism in your investments because you do want to, see some upside. You do want to see some gains. And unfortunately, we're not living in the times of our parents where they had the benefit of the pension systems and, the fixed income support that was a lot more stable during their time coming up than what we have right now, where we don't have the pension systems in place anymore as prevalent. We're operating in more of the, 401k world where you have to be, a lot more self-managed. You have to take, your own, accountability and make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with your finances and making sure that you have a plan of action in place that says, okay, you know what? Based on your core objectives and what you want to achieve, maybe you can buy 5 to 10% of that particular IPO. Maybe you could go and participate in certain alternative investments, a certain, initial public offerings that come out, but we have to know, does that align with what we're trying to achieve first? And far too many people are making decisions based off of the excitement of what's going on around them, as opposed to what is going to actually be beneficial for them long term.
Yeah, that's good. And key in that too, what I hear, Wilbur, is when you listen to the hype and you move off that and the peer pressure, you can end up losing. But if you take the time and really do the research and the thought process for yourself, then you can make an informed decision.
Absolutely.
And that just comes back to simple of what you said and what we've been saying all of last year is a plan, right? So within your financial plan, if it is for you based on your consultation with Hamilton Wealth Advisors or any other wealth management firm that you go and contact, if the professionals tell you these are the things that align with who you are and what you're striving to do, then by all means, let's move forward in that. But if not, then scale back and be patient. And I think, Wilbur, that's a major issue for us all is patience.
Yes.
Because what gets us going is fear of missing out. And I know we've spoken about that, at length on previous shows, but this thing of catching the hype gets us into that point that we think we're going to miss out on another investment. But what we want to let you know is that if you already had a plan and your plan is aligned to do what it needs to do for you and your finances, then you're not going to miss out, because as Mr. Hamilton just said, well, with what IPOs are available, well, we can look at if that aligns with who you are and if that aligns with your plan and whether or not this initial public offering is what's right for you. The news always talks about things in just a few certain IPOs, right? And the thing about that, as you said, you stated about one, and that person that is a part of that company just rules all of media, right? He owns media and has too much influence, if you ask me, if I would just speak candidly myself, in my opinion. And so as a result of that, everybody, because that person in this company is always in your face, then it makes it feel as though, oh, this is where I need to go because this is what everybody is talking about. But what you realize is most of the money is being made for us in places that people are not talking, right? In the places where things are quiet. And that's why it's important for you to come and see Mr. Hamilton and his team at Hamilton Wealth Advisors. Set up your consultation today. Go to the website, hamiltonwealthadv.com, and get in touch with them. Set your consultation. Bring your information. Let us know about what it is that you desire. Let us know how God is leading you and what type of plan you have already laid out for yourself. And I have no doubt that Mr. Hamilton and his team will put together a plan that fits you, that does not fit everybody else and does not do what everybody else is doing, but it will do what you needed to do so that your life can be enhanced and that you will be able to pass down the wealth that you need for you and your family. So tuning out the hype is all about being settled, knowing whose you are and who you are. And oftentimes we don't really surrender ourselves to God like we need to. So therefore we're chasing status because we don't understand the status that we have in God through Jesus Christ. And so we're chasing, we're running, and we're trying to find affirmation through other things and other people. And we're chasing the hype because we feel as though if we are able to catch the hype, kind of like trying to put lightning in a bottle, right? If we're able to catch that, then I will be the person that everybody looks to and everybody likes. And now, you know, I'm the man or I'm the woman, you know, in those moments, right? But what we really need to do is just be quiet and surrender to God and realize once you be quiet and surrender to God, then God will actually give you the affirmation that you need to let you know that I have you, I know you, and I have a plan for your life. And you don't have to chase the hype.
Not at all.
You know, because I've already said in my word that I will take care of you. I've already said in my word that I will never leave you nor forsake you. You know, God already knows the hairs on our head. God knows our thoughts before we even think them. And so even when we're chasing the hype, God knows the moments when we're going to try to chase the hype. So if we feel as though we are missing out and we want to chase the hype, then there's nothing really wrong with that because, you know, we all get caught up in the hype.
Yeah, we're human.
You know what I'm saying? We're human. We're human. But once you get caught up in the hype, do you chase the hype first or do you take that hype to the altar?
Well, you know, it's, you know, you said something, it's content, but not complacent. You know, that's one of the things that, you know, I used to struggle with.
Yeah.
And I had to learn.
We had
So
those
very,
conversations.
Very, you know, I'm you know, I have an aggressive mindset. You know, I want a lot out of life. And not so much want out of life, I expect a lot of myself.
That's great.
You know, I'm my own worst critic in a lot of ways. And I'm super critical of any and everything I do. And nothing I do, I feel like is ever good enough. Because I'm always chasing more. I'm always chasing greater. I want to impact people. I want to do so much. I want to leave my mark on, you know, on this earth. You know, I want to make sure that I have touched the lives of people in a positive way and I've impacted people positively. And I have so much that I want to give that, you know, I keep going and going and going. And I've had to, you know, really come to grips with understanding how to become content with what God has blessed me with without becoming complacent and continuing to keep the hunger or continuing to go into work. You know, and that's one of the things, one of the areas where I have to continue to, you know, pray to God on a daily basis, you know, to keep me content but not complacent. You know, because it's easy to get wrapped up in the world and what the world provides for you. And, you know, it's crazy because I'm one of the people that witness and know that what God got for you is for you.
Yeah.
And ain't nothing nobody can do about what God got for you. And I've witnessed this firsthand.
Yeah.
I've seen some people try to run away and all of a sudden they run right back to it. You know, you tried to get away and it came right back, just like a boomerang. I wasn't even looking for it. And it came, turned right around and came back to me. And, you know, it's funny how God can orchestrate. And, you know, I've seen how, you know, God said, I'll make your enemies your footstool.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen how, you know, he can, you know, turn a situation around and how he can, you know, take anything that you think was meant for bad and turn it around and use it for good, and how he can, you know, make a crooked situation straight, and how you don't have to worry. And as long as you just keep him first,
Yeah.
it always works out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those things where I can smile a little bit
Mm-hmm.
in every situation because I know the sun gonna shine again.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
you know, I take solace in that, and I know that, and it keeps me grounded. It keeps me humbly knowing. It keeps me, you know, pressing forward, you know, to do and be the best version of myself for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I want to make sure that, you know, I max out on what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
You know, I want to attain and achieve everything that the Lord has in store for me. You know, and along the way, I want him to bless me with some undeserved favor. You know, and grant me obviously opportunities that I didn't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, he's told us he'll pour you out a window of blessings. You won't have room enough to receive. So, you know, we once you get locked in step with the Lord, he does things every now and then just to show you who he is. Just to put a smile on your face, say, yeah, I see you.
Yeah.
You know, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I see you working. I see you doing things the right way. I see you striving, you know, for greatness. I see you striving to, you know, make me proud. Because at the end of the day, the goal is for the Lord to say, well done.
Yeah.
You know, that's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate compliment. You know, and I tell people, and I feel like as a community, you know, one thing we need to do a better job of is not just looking to the hills for what's coming with our help, but understanding who is the ultimate helpmate. And we've made some mistakes in our community, and we become a community of giving credibility and status based on financial status. And on far too many occasions, that's led us astray. You know, money does not overrule character.
Yeah.
Money does not overrule integrity. You know, money is not the end all be all. Money comes and money goes, but your character is going to be forever.
Yeah.
You know, your integrity is going to be forever. You know, how you conduct yourself and how you treat people is going to make them feel a certain way forever. So we have to do a better job as a community of understanding who we're lifting up and look at why we're lifting them up. Why do we give so many people credibility? Because they've achieved financial status. It's more important as to how they achieved that financial status. Did they do it God's way or did they do it their way? Because there's two ways to get there.
Yeah.
You know, some people have attained wealth by taking advantage of individuals and lying and stealing and doing different things. And some people have been truly blessed because they've been a blessing to others. And we have to do a better job of deciphering between the two and allowing people that are truly chasing impact and chasing God's glory to be the speakers and to be the representatives of our community, as opposed to people who have just received their status because they've been successful financially. Now, that goes for every area of life and business. That goes for attorneys, that goes for doctors, that goes for dentists, that goes for financial advisors, that goes for CPAs, that goes for judges, that goes for real estate agents, that goes for barbers, that goes for anyone in the community, that goes for athletes. So we've become accustomed to giving status to celebrity and what we see as someone being successful financially, but not actually analyzing the content of their character. And all of a sudden, when we make that individual the spokesman, or that female the spokesman of our community, not understanding the content of their character, and then all of a sudden they sell you down the river because they were only in it for financial gain, you can't blame nobody but yourself. And once again, if you know better, you do better. And we'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back to Closing Gap Podcast, Truth About Wealth, and we are talking about tuning out the hype. Don't worry about if you're missing out on something. Stick to your plan. Make sure that everything that you do in your faith and in your finances aligns with, number one, what God desires for you to do, and number two, what your financial advisor has laid out for you as well. Stick to doing what needs to be done and not try to do what it is that you want to do. Will, you mentioned the about how we talk about often, part of my thing with you is, and for myself is, it's okay to be content, but don't be complacent, right? And scriptures tells us that, godliness with contentment is great gain. And that contentment means that for us in this essence of the conversation today about tuning out the hype is, number one, we talk about our faith. Oftentimes people veer away from God and from their prayer life and their meditation and devotional life because they think that there's something more out there. Sometimes we get bored easily with doing the simple things well.
Yes.
Right? But we don't realize that that's where success really lies, is in the baseline, in the simple things, in the foundational things that need to be done. And it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, whatever your profession is, whatever you're striving to achieve. If you learn the basics of that thing, the foundational things that make that function, you're able to master those things, then everything else, that builds on top of that, is just style, right? And oftentimes we get caught up in the style of things more so than on the foundation of things, on the nuts and bolts of things that needs to be done. And even in ministry, I have to be careful in that of when I'm preparing a sermon and working in the church, am I more concerned about how the church looks, how it, the aesthetics of things, more so than the message? Have to stay rooted and grounded in the message of the gospel and everything that I do, and then let the gospel inform me of how the aesthetics will work.
Yes.
All right. So when I make sure that everything is shaped from there, because it doesn't matter how many square feet a home is, it still has to have a firm foundation.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about with your financial plan. Is your financial plan on a firm foundation? And if your financial plan is on a firm foundation, you don't have to worry about the hype and what everybody else is saying and what everybody else is doing, because you know concretely that you don't have to run for the headlines, and you don't have to worry about making sure that your plan is certain, because you've talked to Hamilton Wealth Advisors and you know that everything is solid. You don't have to worry about your faith when you come to New Grace Covenant Church, because we're going to give you the unadulterated gospel that is going to help you have a reverence of God, a relationship with Christ, and help you live a righteous and holy life. And so when you come to the right places for the information that you need, you can be rest assured that everything will be well. You won't miss out on things because we help you eliminate the blind spots. Right. And I think oftentimes we get concerned about what we don't see.
Yes.
Instead of just staying focused on what we see. Focus on what you know. And do that in an excellent way.
Yes.
And if we strive for excellence in the things that we know, then even if we do miss out, so to speak, on something else, even if some of the hype is true, then guess what? We will be able to partake in the hype because our foundation is set. And our foundation is going to allow us to be able to grab some of the hype. The hype is not going to get past us because we're moving in the right way. And so what's going to happen is once the hype dies down, and if that thing that was hyped up actually has good roots and good nuts and bolts in it, right? Then what's going to happen is it's going to veer into your lane. It's going to fit into your plan and the direction that you're going because you're going in a direction that is solid and is guided by good financial planning and guidance and good faithful guidance. And when you're guided by good things, then the hype, if it's good, it's going to come there. But if it's not, you're going to be like, oh, I'm glad I didn't go partake in that situation.
Well, it's always one of those things where the Bible tells us, and the Bible has the answers to almost every question.
Yeah.
And really, I'm going to say every question because it has an answer. It might not be the answer you want all the time, but it has an answer. And, simply put, what you said is your gift will make room for you. You don't have to chase the hype because there's going to always be a new company that IPOs.
Yeah.
It's always going to be something new. That is the emphasis of what our market and our economy is built on. The market is not going to stop today or tomorrow. It's got to keep turning. There's going to be record highs in the NASDAQ and S&P and the Dow continuously. It's going to continue at record highs. Why? Because the world is going to keep turning. And as long as the world is going to keep turning, that means opportunities are going to continue to evolve. That means new people are going to be born and some people are going to die. That means new innovators are going to come to light. New companies are going to merge and new thinkers are going to be put into place and new opportunities are going to be provided. So there's always going to be opportunity available. You just have to make sure that you have done your due diligence and you've prepared yourself and you've done the necessary planning to be able to properly take advantage of the opportunity. See, that's the thing. Everybody wants to be involved with the new opportunity. They want to be and have the new shiny toy. But nobody wants to plan and prepare and be in position to actually get the shiny toy within their means. They just want to show up and just want to get it. Well, what good is it to have it and you can't use it properly? Or what good is it to have it and it's not even beneficial for you? What is it good to have it that you had to go into debt to get the thing that you wanted just to say you got it?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. You got the car, but you still ain't happy. You got the house, but you're still not appreciative. Well, it's probably because of how you got it. Did you get it by properly planning and saving and evaluating and getting a good deal? Or did you overspend? Did you push yourself outside of your guidelines of what you probably need to be spending in order to get what it is you wanted to have? Why did you want to have it in the first place? Was it coming from a selfish place or a selfish position? It's okay to answer that question quietly. We've all been there. We've all bought some things like, you know what? I really didn't need that.
Right now.
That was a little bit of a selfish purchase, but guess what? I got it now and I'm going to make the most of it. So we don't want you to feel like we picking on you because we've done it as well. The Bible tells us there's nothing new under the sun. But we just have to be honest about our mistakes and understand what do I need to do to correct these mistakes and not to have the same mistake happen twice. Make a mistake one time, shame on you. Make a mistake twice, it's shame on me. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to do an assessment of myself and what I did right or wrong to put myself in a different position the next time around. And we have to understand that. We have to understand that, okay, you know what? When the next IPO drops, I'm going to be in a position where I can participate without hindering my future. Because as much as we want to hit it big, And as much as we want to turn water into wine and we want to see the fruits of our labor pay off with immediate gratification, even when participating in an IPO, you still got to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
The goal is not what, these IPOs are today.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is what is it going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now. See, that's the part that people tend to forget and don't understand, especially about the market. The market was not designed to be a short-term get rich quick. It was designed to be a long-term investment tool. It was designed for you to get in and stay in and hold on and wait a little while longer and then possibly exit. Much like building a business. You don't build a business in a day and sell it tomorrow. It takes time. It takes some blood, sweat, and tears. You got to go in. You got to put some sweat equity into building that business. So you have to start the business. Then you got to develop the structure and strategy of the business. You got to cultivate the business. You got to create customers, and you got to market, and you got to scale, and you got to do all these things to make the business successful, to make somebody want to buy it. And a lot of times, that takes a lifetime for most people. And then they sell. And there's nothing wrong with that, but understanding what the cause and effect is in the beginning. Understanding what the real time frame is from the beginning. And a lot of times we want to come in and think it's going to be an overnight because we heard on YouTube or we heard on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook how someone bought a business or they started a business and they bought it and sold it in 2-3 years. And I'm not saying it can't happen.
Right.
But we have to be realistic about what kind of effort and what kind of resources we have to be able to put into something to turn it around that fast. Now, granted, the more resources you have, the more you can put into it, the faster you probably can turn it around. But even in building a business, it's still a 5 to 7 year period. Investing in private equity. And, I have clients that invest in a lot of private equity investments that have had early access to a lot of these things that are IPOing right now. And I have some clients that are, getting back 4X and 5X on their money, 7X, 8X, because they got into these things years ago. See, some of these IPOs that are coming out now, the time to get in was 5 to 7 years ago. But the problem is most people and 99% of people didn't have access at that time. And even now, there's even restrictions on how much you can even sell of that particular IPO, of that particular stock. So there's restrictions on basically if once the stock does an IPO, it's only releasing a certain amount of shares. And if you own those shares, there's only so many you can sell or liquidate at a time. So still, it's somebody controlling your money. That's controlling the stock price to an extent. So a lot of times people don't even understand the game within the game that they say they want to play. But what you have to do is design and implement your own plan for your life so you make sure you play in your game. So you know what players you need on your team. Do you even need that player on your team? If you got that player, would they help you win? In the time frame in which you need to score your next basket, is that a beneficial player for you? If you need to score your next basket in the next year or two because you on your way out, that may not be the best play for you. But if you maybe want to score your next basket in the next 5 to 7 years, it may be a perfect play for you. So understanding what your situation calls for and what your plan actually needs support in. Do you need some optimistic growth in your portfolio? Are you prepared to buy and hold for 5 to 7 years, for 10 years? Because you think about the people who have made money, just say in Apple, for example. The time to buy an Apple was back in the early 2000s. I remember when the first iPhone came out. And people were spending, and I'm going to say us, and we were spending $1,000 to get that jailbroken iPhone. because they only came out with certain carriers. If you didn't have service with that particular carrier, you couldn't get an iPhone. So, you had these people that was jailbreaking them and selling them so you could put your SIM card in it and you could use it with your provider. Now, you still ain't have full access to all the capabilities that was on that phone. But just because you wanted that phone so bad, you were willing to spend a premium to get that phone. Imagine if at that time, you would have took that same $1,000 and bought some Apple stock. And you bought it and you hold it. And that's 2004, 5, 6. And you held that, and now we're in 2026. And you put 1,000. And every year they came out with a new iPhone. And you bought another 1,000 and another 1,000. So you spent $5,000 to $10,000 at iPhones. That same $5,000 to $10,000 would have made you a millionaire had you bought the stock. So a lot of times it's understanding, okay, what makes sense for me? Because we all say, and a lot of people tell me all the time, Mr. Hamilton, I don't make enough. I don't have enough. I said, well, let's look at your phone bill, for example. Why does your son that's 9 need a cell phone? He can't go nowhere without you. Why does your child that's 12 have a cell phone and an iPad? Well, he can't use but one at a time. Who is he calling? Who is he talking to? Do you even want him to have full access? And these are questions as a parent we think about. I said, no, I really don't want him to have access to all the things that are out there now. From an accessibility standpoint, that could enter into his eyes and ears. But we're giving them access, and we're paying for access that in a lot of cases is detrimental to their upbringing.
Kids,
We've seen and heard studies where it's facts that the people that owned and created these products and run these companies don't even allow their kids to use the products until they get a certain age. And definitely not before 15 to 18 years of age. But we're looking out, you can look at your phone bill, so you're probably paying for every phone, you're paying $25 for this line, $25 for this one, $25 for that one. You upgrade the device, you're paying another $50 for this service and $25 for that service. Well, you're spending an extra $200 a month probably on phones and service for people who really don't need them. Why? If that same money went into purchasing the stocks of the very companies that you are catering to, all of a sudden your retirement outlook is a whole lot better. But we don't have a plan. But we want to jump at the first sign of opportunity of get rich quick. And the reason why we have a bad issue with that in our community is because, unfortunately, we're trying to erase 400 years and we want to do it in 6 months. We've been held back for so long. We've been without for so long that we want to change the trajectory. And we want to have the feeling of being able to live financially free just for a little while. So you think about the feeling that you have when you buy something, and regardless of how much it costs, but buying it and knowing you could buy it not once, not twice, but 3 times and 4 times, and how good you feel when you walk away from making that purchase of knowing I bought this and I still got some money. And we like to have that euphoria feeling of we can do things that we may not be in position to really be able to do. But being able to have it anyway, for us, has become a status symbol in a lot of ways. We've let the stuff overrule our decision making, and that has clouded our judgment and put us in a position where we make a lot of bad financial decisions. And it puts us in a position where we're always saying what we don't have. Well, we have. We just don't do right by what we have. And if we take that back to the word, well, God has already said, if you be faithful over few, I make you rule over many. So until we're better with the little, we can't expect to have a lot. See you back after this break.
Welcome back to Closing Gap Podcast, Truth About Wealth. we're talking about tuning out the hype, making sure that you stay aligned with the plan that you already have for your faith and your finances, and don't worry about what you may think you're missing out on, because the truth of the matter is most times you're not missing out on anything when you have a great plan laid out already. Many people turn away from God because they fail from following the plan. Many people lose out on their retirement like they need to because they don't stick to their plan. They get off the plan, deviate from the plan, and then go and make a hasty decision. But Proverbs 21:5 says that the thoughts of the diligent tend to be plenteous, but those that are hasty, you end up wanting. Meaning that when you make rush decisions, you end up losing more than you think you would gain. I kind of do this on the interstate now as well with driving, right? And whenever I see somebody rushing past me, just dipping and dodging in the traffic, I say, okay, let's see how far they get, and sometimes people may get past me, but then oftentimes, by the time I just ease on up, and then we ended up getting off the same exit around the same time, or they might be off the exit before me, but they're sitting at the light, on that exit, and I'm like, okay, the rush that you had still didn't get you ahead like you thought it would. And that's what we want everybody to know, that rushing and trying to get rich quick, trying to make investments that are not aligned with the plan that you've made for yourself, nor the plan that your financial advisor has made for you, will only lead you backwards sometime instead of moving forward. And also, when I think about Jesus, when Jesus began his ministry and he, knew what he had to do. And as he got ready to go out publicly, he fasted, for 40 days and for 40 nights. And as he was coming off of that fast, Satan came and tempted him in that moment. And one of the temptations that Satan had was that he told Jesus that, I can give you all of these things in this world, if you would just serve me, and Jesus rebuked him and said, get thee behind me, Satan, because Jesus understood his plan, and he did not allow the hype that Satan tried to draw him in with to get him off of the plan that he knew his father God had already gave him. He knew, if I follow the plan that my father has already given me, what you're telling me, Satan, that you're going to give me is already mine, because my father God owns all things.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm his son. And so the fact that my father owns all things, then I own all things. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, is what scripture says. And so Jesus understood that, and that is what gave Jesus the peace of mind to be able to tell Satan, get thee behind me. And so to tune out the hype, you have to be resolute in the plan that you have. You have to know God for yourself. You have to trust in God for yourself. You have to know your financial plan, and you have to trust in the one that gave you the financial plan. And I think, Wilbur, that's a problem within itself, is that many people don't have the financial plan, or if they do have a financial plan, they have not had the conversations on their job with the people that are over the financial planning on their job. And so they don't really trust it because they don't understand it. And rightfully so, I would say, is that you can't trust something that you don't take the time to get an understanding of. And that's why we do this show, is to encourage you to reach out to Hamilton Wealth Advisors so that you can have those conversations to get an understanding of the plan that you even have on your job. Uh, Also, to get an understanding of how your Social Security that you worked for hard can work for you when it's necessary. These are just some of the things that Mr. Hamilton and his team at Hamilton Wealth Advisors uh, can assist you in. And I don't know if you all heard it earlier. The other thing that Mr. Hamilton said is that some of his clients have already invested in these companies that are IPOing before they have their initial public offering. So the only way that you can have access to these things is to sit down with the people that have the access cards. You don't have the access, but guess what? You know somebody that does, and that's Mr. Hamilton and Hamilton Wealth Advisors. So if you stop listening to the hype and listen to the show, listen to the episodes, and understand that we're not coming on here with a whole lot of rah-rah, hoopla, ballyhoo, all of those synonyms to hype. We're not offering those things. We're offering sound faith and financial advice so that you can follow and get to the place that God desires you to be. Our goal here is to help you to be, this year, these episodes, is to help you to be accountable with what you have and make sure that you are aligned correctly with what God desires for you. That's our goal here, right? And we say it all the time. Whether you come to my church, in New Grace Covenant Church, 830 Briarwood Drive in Bessemer, Alabama, or if you contact Hamilton Wealth Advisors at hamiltonwealthadv.com, we're going to assist you whether you join my church to get guidance in faith or whether you become a client of Hamilton Wealth Advisors. They provide free consultations, okay? Just so that you can have the information to get to where you need to go. What we're doing is planting seeds, right? Also in the scripture, Paul talked about he and Apollos. And, he talked to Paul, said, look, I'm glad that I didn't baptize many of you, right? But he said, y'all are talking about I'm of Paul and I'm Apollos. He's like, no, we're all of Christ. And he said, yeah, Apollos has done what he needs to do, and I, Paul, have done what I need to do. But most of all, what he said is he and Paul and Apollos, their goal was to get people on the right page to follow Christ. And that's what I want everybody to turn down the hype. We know that a lot of financial advisors, they come to you with a lot of hype in their marketing. We know that a lot of churches, they come to you with a lot of hype about they have a better way of giving you the gospel than what I may have. And some financial advisors may say they can promise you certain returns better than Hamilton Wealth Advisors may be able to, but don't listen to the hype. All right. And even if they can, we pray that they can follow through on what they say they can say and what they say they can do. We pray that they do. Right. And whether or not they do it or not, and whether you come and talk to us, we want you to have that success. And if they can do it and you come talk to us first, and then you go to them and they're able to do that, you know what? Come back and bring them to us too. We want to take advantage of that as well. You know what I'm saying? We are not too prideful to let somebody know that we don't know everything. But we're confident in the things that we do know.
Yes.
And the things that we do know, we're willing to share all of those things with you. And that's what we strive to do each and every time that we come on the episodes of Closing the Gap podcast.
Well, absolutely. And like I say, I couldn't have said it, much better myself. But at the end of the day, we know better, we do better.
Yeah.
And our job here is to educate, and my job in particular is to educate and help build those financial plans so we can have that success, so we can impact people for generations to come. And that's my passion and line in life, is to impact the lives of people I never come into contact with. And it just happens to be my way is through financial planning and financial guidance, and And obviously your way is through, help lead them to Christ.
Yeah.
And hopefully they turn their, life over to the Lord. And I hope they turn their life over to the Lord as well, because guess what? When they do that, it makes my job a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Because now you're listening. Now we can educate and we can implement it. Now we can review because, you understand that you have a father. You understand that there is, something greater to you out there. You understand that, you have a purpose now. And the purpose is not always about you. It's about what you can do for somebody else. Because that's the true, gift of life is not how much you do for yourself, but how much you can do for the people around you. How much you can do for others. Because, we all have a finite time here. And you want to make the most of your time. And the only way you live forever is to touch somebody else.
Yeah.
You can do all you want to do for yourself. But if you never have nobody else, you'll be forgotten as soon as you go. And the goal is to leave, what legacy is impact. And obviously impact can be made in a lot of different ways. And, we want people to make it in a myriad of ways.
Yeah.
And we want them to make it through their, love of Jesus Christ and sharing that. And we also want them to make it through, following God's principles, because he said, a righteous man leaves the inheritance to his children's children. So he said both.
Yeah.
He ain't say do one or the other. He said you can do both.
Yeah.
And we want you to do both, and we employ you to do both because our community needs you to do both more than any other community. Yeah. We are behind. We are in last place, figuratively and literally, when it comes to wealth. So the only way to make a change is to start trusting God. God has given you the blueprint. He's told you exactly what you need to do. He's putting the people around you and in front of you to help you execute that strategy. You just got to trust it and start implementing the same way you got to trust God and get out your own way.
Yeah.
You got to do the same thing in your finances. And that's where the planning and preparation can begin. And now we can start to diversify. You can learn as to why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You can learn why you don't just bet the house on, this one particular stock that you think is going to do well. And you want to diversify and make sure you take everything into account. You want to make sure that you understand, okay, well, what is my time horizon? My time horizon to retire may be 5 years, but your time horizon for the rest of your life may be 35. So you got to make sure that money's going to last for at least 35 years. And if you have, of course, people you want to leave money to, well, I got to make sure that the money lasts for at least 35 years and there's something left over for the next generation. So, how do I do that? What do I invest in? What opportunities, do I, commingle inside of my financial plan? And a lot of times people don't understand that. And, we started doing financial planning, and, like I said, I have a lot of clients that participate in, in IPOs and that have participated in, been early stage investors in various, companies and whatnot, early stage, late stage. So I've been involved in all those different opportunities for a lot of these major companies that have gone 5X, 10X, 20X when they've gone public, but at the end of the day, that was the last piece of the puzzle. See, people don't like the mundane and the elementary, but that sets the foundation. Understand something about, science and biology and even math. You do the same math in college that you do in elementary. It just builds on each other. Every time you go up a grade, it takes one more step. They add another variable, but the foundation is still add, subtract, multiply, and divide. It don't change. Please excuse my dear ass Sally. It was the acronym. Remember like yesterday. I've always been good at math. That's always been a strong point. So, I remember a lot of those things that my math teachers taught me, and, how to use and execute and, how to put together and figure out certain formulas and things of that nature. So, but those are foundational pieces. And your financial plan has to have foundational pieces. The foundational pieces are your insurance. It is, what are your fixed income opportunities? Do you have, fixed annuities, index annuities? Do you have REITs and these things that provide income that can give you the stability inside of your portfolio? Then you want them, of course, what kind of, stock portfolio or ETF or mutual fund portfolio do you have? And how aggressive are you? It's a matter of creating the income plan that go with the investment plan, that goes with the tax plan, That goes with the healthcare plan. That goes with the long-term care plan. That ultimately leads into the estate plan, which all is encompassed inside of the financial plan. So if you don't have all those different elements, then you don't have a retirement plan. You have a retirement hope. You're hoping that things go right in retirement. But what happens if you have some type of sickness or ailment, and all of a sudden, them doctor bills get a little more than what you thought they was going to be? Those prescription drugs cost a little bit more than you thought they was going to cost. That long-term care assisted living facility was a little bit more expensive than what you planned on. Or the market takes a turn for the worse, and all of a sudden, you experience a 2008 level crash where you were still investing as aggressively as you did when you were 45, but all of a sudden you're 65, and all of a sudden you lose 50% of your income because you had 100% of your money invested in the market and you took a hit. And all of a sudden, can you live on 50% of what you was making? Most people can't. But that's where the planning comes into play. That's where you have to understand what is real, true diversification. See, unfortunately, a lot of people I run into, and especially in our community, they think diversification means that I got some money at Regions, I got some money at Wells Fargo, I got a little account at America's First, I got this, I got that. No. You working with multiple people or multiple entities does not mean you're diversified. The true diversification is being spread out across different asset classes. That means that, fixed annuities are an asset class. Real estate is an asset class. Stocks, bonds, and ETFs are a different asset class. There's multiple commodities are an asset class. These are all different uncorrelated assets that move and shake a little bit differently. So when one is up, that means the other may be a little down and vice versa. So how much do we put where to counteract any type of negativity or volatility that we could experience? But first we have to understand how much do we put in what bucket, which means we got to go back to the drawing board and do the first thing that people don't like doing is create that budget. So now we know how much income we need. What do I have left over after I've paid my bills? Based on the total value of my assets, I've secured my retirement. And now I got some money left over I can put in investments. And if I've created the plan the right way, the way we do here at Hamilton Wealth Advisors, most of the clients leave and they have retirement secured and they have a little bit of money left on the side. Now, we can take that investment money, that's the I don't know money, because we're not going to touch the for sure money because we need to make sure that lasts the rest of the time. So we're going to take this money over here that's in the I don't know pile, and we can take some calculated risks. We can decide, you know what, of this investment portfolio, I want to be a little bit more optimistic. I'm going to take 5 to 10% of that, and I'm going to go into purchasing this particular stock when it becomes available. But I'm not doing all of it. I'm just doing a piece of it because I got a plan. I have an understanding on how much I'm going to put where. So now I can properly allocate without sabotaging everything that I have going on. I never want to be in a situation like, man, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things a little bit differently. Well, guess what? Ignorance is not an excuse. You can know right now by sitting down and getting a plan put together for you so you know exactly what to do, when to do, and how much to do into every bucket, into every type of opportunity to give yourself success, not just today, but for years to come. And at the end of the day, we all want later to be greater. But the time is now to make later greater. We'll see you back next time.